And we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiskey Charlie, the War Game Chat. I'm your host, Mo from Mo's Game Table, and joining me are my co-hosts, everybody's favorite Gimp with the Limp, the Gimpy Gamer, Nate Rogers. How's it going, Nate?
It's another glorious day in the core, man.
Damn, you saw your green screen.
Oh, you've got a green screen. Woohoo!
It almost looks like you're stripping like the Hulk or something, taking your shirt off.
It's a lovely day.
That was just not good. And the War Game Wizard from Oz, Kev Sharp from the Big Board. How's it going, Kev?
I'm here, man. Another day. I'd love to say
day.
it's another glorious day in the core, but it's just another freaking day.
Another day, another dollar.
Our first sergeant used to say that to us every time, man. Every time we'd have a formation, he'd be like, "It's another glorious day in the Corps." I mean, this dude like lived, breathed, ate, and shit Marines, man. Yeah. He was all about it.
Yep. There was a lot of that, a lot of moto, as we used to always say, where that was kind of a later term. It just gungy is what we used to say all the time. And
what was it? Gungy? That would have been what,
gungy,
like
that was old
1940s, 1950s?
Yeah, exactly.
Your time
kids in the Corps these days, they just don't know all the old
That was back at Bella Wood.
Yeah.
Damn Germans calling us Pfiffelhundens. So, hey, good evening to everybody joining us tonight. Really appreciate you guys joining us. And we're into summer here, and we're definitely knee deep in it here in Texas. That's for sure. We've had storms. We've had a million degree temperatures. We're like, I think we're triple digit for like the next week as far as heat index, like in good triple digit too, like 110 to 120 with high humidity, which has been pretty brutal. Yeah, it sucks when it's like 100 degrees and like 70% humidity. This morning was like 84%. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
It's like Florida.
I don't mind the heat and humidity up to a point, but 80 plus percent starting to get a little challenging.
Yeah. I don't want to swim to work through the air.
Exactly.
It sucks.
I don't even get it, man. We haven't even hit 90 here yet.
Really?
Not once. No, it hadn't really felt like swimming weather at all. I mean, my kids will go swimming, but me and the wife, we won't get in the pool because it's still at that stage where you kind of tiptoeing in like,
Really? Just jump in, man. Yes, Mike, this is the channel where we will be discussing votes for women. It's a war game, right?
Oh, totally. It's full of conflict. Full of conflict.
Everything's a war game nowadays.
Yeah. Like, whose game is that? Is that GMT?
Nah.
No, that's Fort Circle. That they did.
Isn't it Holland?
Yeah.
No, it was Fort Circle because they did Tripoli, and they're doing Halls of Montezuma next.
Yeah. Yeah, because the guy that runs that was a former Marine himself.
Let's see. Oh, and we got Ken here. John C. That's the joke, because
the running gag.
Yeah, the running gag that he looks like Ken T. So, and I saw you got your copy of People Power, so I know you're happy for Ken. You should be happy that you have your first design game in your hands. So, good for you.
Speaking of stuff arriving, has anyone got Western Front Ace yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I got an email about it, but that shit hadn't arrived. I'm getting a little antsy. I'm ready for it to come in. I've got something coming from GMT, but I'm unsure what it is. It's been a little while since I've ordered something from them.
There were people talking about, I think it was People Power, and I can't remember what else is going out right now.
I wouldn't have put that on P500. There was something, though. God, for the life of me, I can't remember. Maybe it was Flying Sails or Flying Colors.
Oh, Flying Colors. Colors. That's the other one. Yeah.
What it is?
Yeah. Flying Colors is the other one that's out. And Mr. President should be coming soon, too.
That's not a war game.
No, it's not. But I still P500. I did the P500 on it because of the subject matter alone. I figured, you know what? That's going to be something interesting. Be something cool to check out. And hopefully it's as good as, it looked like it would be. And, but I know that it is going to be a table hog. It's going to be a monstrous beast.
Looks big.
It's really big. When I saw it in San Diego, the prototype of it was big. And I was like, well, the final will be big too, because you have all the charts, the tables, the board itself and everything, the cards, everything. It's going to be big. And I was like, well, I probably won't hit the table anytime soon because I'm so far behind on other stuff. And lately I've been trying to catch up on a bunch of things still. And right behind Nate is another time suck that we've had lately is 6 Days of Fallujah, which we'll talk a little bit about tonight too. But so what have you been up to, Kev?
Not a whole lot. I have just not been in
Kev?
game mode, so I have to participate in decisive action play test and a play test for Panzer for North Africa. And I've got a couple of vassal games going, the World War from Compass Games. We're on close to the end of turn 2 for that. But that's really it. I've just set up Line of Battle, a little scenario to learn so that when I go to the Advanced After Combat Con, we're going to play Gettysburg, the full, we're going to start on the second day, I think. But that's really it. I have either not had the energy all the time. I'm not sure what's going on. So I have no content.
Yeah, I hear you. I think everybody goes through that. You get those kind of lulls where you've got other things pulling you in different directions, and then it's hard to get back on the horse and get back in stride. So,
and I'm just kind of frustrated with the space here as well. You know, it's we're closing in on ready to tear each other's throats out in the house. So.
Yeah, but I've seen pictures of where you're going to live. There's plenty of space around there.
Oh yeah, there, but that's not done yet.
There, but I can't play in there yet. When I can, I will.
You could. You just get a couple of tarps. You throw across the roof. You're good.
Yeah.
You got no wife, no kids there. That's all you need, man.
Make it marine safe.
All we need is actually nothing. They didn't give us anything. I remember shitting out in the middle of the desert.
Thanks for sharing.
Dude, they had a little tent. You had to squat in this thing. You couldn't even stand. And there was a little hole dug in the ground with like some wooden crap we used as a seat.
Yeah.
Completely out in the middle of the desert. That's where you had to pop a squat. It was a very unpleasant experience. It was like a sauna.
We used to do it a little more free. We'd just take an old 50 cal ammo box, not a can, a box. And
we still do that.
You know, you have the top and bottom knocked out, and you just use that, and you're good to go. Desert, just dig a little hole, you're good.
That's what we would do on the side of the road. One of the guys actually built it up. He got an old toilet seat from somewhere, put it on the top of one of those boxes, lined it with some like disposable bags and shit, put it in the back of the Humvee, and we're out on a mission or whatever. We can't get back to base. Just set up a little perimeter, pop it next to the Humvee, do your business, throw the bag, bury it. You're good. We just keep on going.
Yeah.
Actually, remind me later. I got a picture of the guy on one of those. Not something I'll share online. He'd get a little pissed at me.
So, what new content do you have coming out, or do you have planned, or are you going to try to get planned, Kev?
Me, my last post will go out tomorrow, and it's a narrative I wrote up. I have 0 in the can.
Wow.
So I've got 25 draft documents, but none of them are really ready to just kind of share. So, and no video. So I've got to get on the stick at some point. Yeah. But so I'm glad to be here as a vlogger and as a blogger to share with you all the wonderful games I'm playing. But no, I have nothing.
All the stuff I'm not doing.
Yeah, really.
It's summertime too, and that also adds into it too, because you have family commitments and things like that. So it's a little tougher to do that during that time. Although next month I'll be getting some time because I actually get to take vacation, so I'll hopefully get like a week of just being able to game. Or close to it, and maybe get some new content in there. But I'm trying to squeeze some in as I can. Some of the content.
I got a haircut today. I mean, that was exciting.
Oh, just one?
Yeah, just one. Yeah.
But then we have like I was talking about 6 Days of Fallujah that Gimpy and I have been playing. That's going to be. So he's already got content on his channel about that. I'll be putting some up later this week. We'll hopefully be doing a live stream of that. At the end of the week when it gets out to the public.
Did you two play together cooperatively? Is that what you were doing?
Yes.
Or are you independent? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. It's a cooperative game. It's up to 4 players. And so you're playing as a fire team against the AI. And right now they're limiting what can be said. Nate's the one who got all the stuff from these guys. So he's the one who was able to get the content. That's why he's putting his stuff out now. I'm waiting till after it becomes public early access on Thursday, then I'll put some stuff up. But it's been pretty neat. We've only played 2-man, me and him, and then him and his brother played. We haven't played 3 or 4-man yet, so that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. 3 or 4-man fire team, because
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Is it
so you were into shooters,
dude? Look, before you were born, I played competitively as FPS, as a first-person shooter.
Really?
Oh,
I
yeah.
did not.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I had custom built rig. I mean,
Oh.
my team was we were top 50 teams in European League, and we were, I don't know, top 100 in the US. And we were good.
So this is going back a ways. So
this is back in the day.
Quake?
No, it was Operation Flashpoint.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that was a good one. That was a good
Yeah,
one.
it's good. It's a big open world, and we all we did was capture the flag stuff. So we 5 flagging, all that, we would sometimes, so back then it was different, because if you had a better PC, it meant you had your own independent sound card, which meant you had better sound, and therefore you had, like, my team had 3-dimensional 360-degree sound, so we could hear people approaching, and all they could hear is the sound of movement. So that made a huge difference. So me and one other guy would constantly play 2v6, 2v8, and 5 flag guys all the time.
Nice.
Were you game to jump in on Friday then?
Yeah.
Friday night, probably. I mean, I could. How much is the game? I
got you covered.
Okay, cool. I would play. I don't know if this PC will run a decent game, but I will put it on the lowest settings and we'll see. I mean, how bad could it be, right?
Well, my brother's ran it, and his computer's kind of crap. So if he was able to run it, you should be able to take care of it. But they gave me a handful of codes. I didn't.
Oh, cool.
Shooters.
Yeah, I mean, I used to love them, dude. I put, golly, when my oldest was 2, so this is 20 years ago, right? I mean, I was putting in 30 hours a week at night, because we had a colicky baby and no one was sleeping. So I'd get woken up. I'd just go down and play on the European servers, and I'd get yelled at because my ping was 200, all that sort of fun stuff, all that nonsense. I remember finding out about laser mice, and that I could turn around in a really tight circle versus, walking around like this. And
I remember those days.
That's where I learned a lot. That's where I found really good music, like White Stripes, and when I say really good music, back in the day, so like Eminem and White Stripes, and some other rap and hard rock music, because the intro music was all the maps were custom made. They were all fan made. All the good maps were fan made, and so we would play, and you have all this great music. I'm like, oh, this music's awesome. What is this? I'm like, oh, you're such an idiot, dude. Because even then, I was the oldest guy, right? So all these kids were in their 18 or 20, and I was older, 30.
What, you were like 40, 50, somewhere around that time frame.
But this one you'll dig, because the thing about this game is, everyone has played Call of Duty that plays modern shooters now, and knows what it's like. And I love Call of Duty. It's fun for, running guns, going out there and, just having a good old time. You die, you respawn, you die, you respawn.
Sure.
And the graphics are fantastic and all that stuff, but you're basically running, sliding, hopping all over the place.
Do the bunny hop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is not like that. This is slow moving. The physics on it feel more realistic, because when you sprint, you're just moving at a kind of a fast trot. You're not
man's pace
sprinting.
With kit, right?
Exactly, right. Because you got all your gear on.
Body armor, ammo, med kit, water, grenades, the helmet, all that shit adds up. That's
sign me up. I'm in. I love it.
But one of the cool things about it is, even though you run at a certain sprint, which is not super fast, they did a really cool thing where you get like an adrenaline burst when you get rounds coming at you. You hear that zip, 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 that crack going past your ear, and the rounds are coming at you. Immediately you go from going boom, 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 boom to poop. You just sprint really quick.
Like, that's awesome.
Shit.
That's clever. That's clever.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Is it local? Is it detailed targeting? So you're hitting arms and bits and pieces of your body, or is it just one big kill box, or how does that work for you?
It does seem to matter where you hit the person. So if you get a headshot, they're down.
Sure.
And maybe a heart shot. It appears that there are occasions where you hit them in the chest and they go down one, or if you hit them somewhere like the stomach or the legs, it takes 3-4 rounds to go
even more sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing there, though, is that's actually accurate when it comes to modeling Fallujah, just like in Mogadishu and stuff like that, where those guys were high on cod. In Fallujah, these guys are like hopped up on cocaine and adrenaline and everything else, which they found out afterwards, or they found out during too, that these guys were like way high on stuff. So there were guys that were getting like half their heads blown off and they were still alive. They were still in the fight. And they'd have to mag dump them or whatever just to finish it off.
Right.
Because these guys would keep going. You read stories of guys, they'd bring buildings down on top of these guys, and these guys would still be surviving and they'd still try to fight. So you had to do what you had to do,
I'll tell you, we've played it a fair amount, and they've done a really good job with the ambiance of it, and the fact that the sound is right, the look, the appearance, everything that's going on. And I was talking to Mo about it the other day. They had one very specific instance where we're going along, we're running the mission, we're searching buildings, and they had a vehicle that had explosives in it. They came driving up on us. And for a second, like, I was right back there in it because everything was accurate. Like, I'm actually clutching at the chest because he starts driving right as I see him. And I know instinctively what's coming. And I didn't even have a chance to say something to him. I'm just lifting the rifle and trying to hit him, but it was already too late. He was 30 feet from us when he started driving. So he gets up on us, and all of a sudden, both of our screens just go black. We hear a boom, and boom, we're done.
Right.
And it took me a sec after we had that to like restart the next one. I was like, hold on, dude, let my heart rate go back to normal.
Wow. I mean, that's a little surreal, dude.
It was very cool because like I went across first, and he was behind me, and I look to the right, I hear the rev of the engine, and then Nate goes, he starts shooting, and the next thing I know is I turn and I go to raise my rifle up to try to, and I did start shooting at the driver, and then he just clacked off and screen went black, and I was just like, wow, that's pretty awesome that it gives you that. It does get across the point of how deadly and how fast things can happen. You just hear the revving of an engine, next thing you know is you're dead. And it was done in a very realistic fashion, which I thought was
that's pretty cool.
It
sounds very different. So that's cool. Let's stack some bodies. Let's do it. That'd be awesome.
But it is realistic in the fact that you go down quick.
Yeah.
People will come up behind you. You'll hear crack, 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 and then all of a sudden your guy's down or you're incapacitated.
Right.
It is video gamey in the fact that you can pick each other up.
Sure, do heals.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a headshot, you're down. You can shot and just be done.
Sure.
But in that one, we did get our payback because we actually looped around behind him and came up on the back of the truck, and I was shooting it up, and all of a sudden it explodes, and Mo's like 203, I got him. He
that was great. We went back and we were like, okay, now we know where that first V-bit is. So let's go around to the right. So we go around to the right, and I said, Nate's like, oh, we got to go down this way. I was like, well, the V-bit's here, so let's trigger him because we know this is going to be one of the interesting things about this game is. Whereas when you play other games, you know where everybody's at. Here, it's always everything's procedurally generated. The rooms are going to change every time you play it. The AI is going to be put in different locations. But because this is a V-bid, it has to be put in one spot because there's an alley it can drive.
That's not how that works. The way it works is you're close. You're right there on it. If you hit replay the mission, the map stays the same. If we restart the level, then it's going to be regenerated. So the vehicle would be in a different spot then. But if you hit replay, you can keep replaying it and learn where everything is. Like the building stayed the same for that because we kept replaying after we got wiped out. But yes, for the most part, it is procedurally generated.
So we triggered him. We triggered that guy, and he started to drive up. And here's the interesting thing: he starts driving up, and he pulls to the right. like he's going to try to turn around to come back at us, which I thought was kind of neat. So I'm like, pop, 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 pop. I'm hitting him with the AR, the M16, and I'm like, no, screw this. I got a 203. So I switched to my 203, and I'm like, thunk. And then it's just, you hear boom, boom, just like really loud. And I was just like, I'm just laughing on video.
That's funny.
I've got it on video. I could show you guys. But
and then your screen goes black because you're too close. Yeah.
Well, no, I was far enough away and I was behind a couple of things where we were covered. But the cool thing is one of the AI voices goes, "Damn, son, what'd you hit him with?"
Oh, that's funny.
So it's really cool.
Good job with the details of it, because the sound is right, the look is right,
Mm-hmm.
the appearance is right. Little details that civilians might not pick up on, like the fact that the rifles, every few rounds you're going to have a tracer in there, so
Mm-hmm.
you don't see your bullets most of the time, but we put tracers in there so we could kind of walk it in if need be. The fact that our body armor was green instead of desert camouflage. The Marines didn't have desert body armor to give us, so we all had desert camis, but green body armor when we went in. And even the detail of the fact that some people still had the old-fashioned desert camis, the we called them chocolate chips, the old ones. And some guys, most of us had digitals, but the Marines were switching at that time. So some of the guys you see are wearing the old-style camis.
Oh, that's clever.
So
I guess the design team worked with vets and stuff to get it right.
One of the lead designers was a Marine that was there.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
Yeah, they definitely have the experience, but the time frame this game is based on a very specific set of time, and that happened right before I went. So they had it much worse than I did. Things had calmed down a little bit by the time I got there. Now, I've been saying thanks to them, because I know the only reason they gave me codes is because I served in Fallujah. They didn't give me codes because I have this awesome channel that cover all these games and shit like that.
Right.
This isn't normally what I cover, and they're not going to get a return on investment.
So you're saying your channel sucks?
Yeah. I've never covered a first-person shooter on this channel. I mean, they could easily look and know that I don't cover that type of game. Yeah. But I think it was their way of, saying thanks and, hey to a fellow Marine, which, again, I want to put out,
Yeah, well, that's nice. That's nice, though. That's cool that they should do that, too. I think that's cool.
It's not perfect yet, but for being early access, they've done a good job. We have encountered some glitches.
Yeah, so it's kind of alpha, beta type of thing.
Yeah, it's like in beta right now. It's solid beta.
Well, I'll have to tell my kids about it, because they're like, two of them are like, they're beta testing games right now. Actually, he just left dinner early. He's like, dude, I'm on a beta test, got to go. some collect. It's one of those games where you run around and shoot dudes and then collect stuff and do crafting as well. But it's got super high res graphics. It's military oriented, but I think this one's in space. I don't know. I don't keep up anymore, but they're both pretty hardcore gamers.
Well, the thing I like about this one is...
Let me interject real quick. Answered Nordic's question before we carry on.
Where is that? Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah. And there's another question up. Royce had a question, too.
Oh, did I miss one? Yeah, it is an insurgency.
The game, is it like Insurgency?
Oh, like the game.
Similar. It's similar.
I haven't played Insurgency.
This kind of spins off what I was going to talk about with this when it comes to the game itself. What I like about this is not only do you move slower, more realistic, this game doesn't play like Call of Duty where you're just running around having a good old time, having a hoot, shooting people, dropping people left and right, getting kill streaks. This plays like a horror game, because when you go into each building, you got to flip on your flashlight. You've got to enter the room. Right. When you go in that room, there may be somebody there with an RPK that just drops you. The minute you walk in, you try to jump across the barriers that you've got in place. You get in that room, you start sweeping. There could be somebody sitting in the corner waiting for you, and then you got to get the drop on him before he puts you down.
Right.
Or he just may put you down and you don't know where you got hit from. Another thing, which like Call of Duty shows you who killed you. You get to see that kill cam. Here, there is none. You just die. That's it. You don't see where that guy was.
Yeah.
So
all that kill cam stuff is more just for
it's arcadey.
It's for YouTubers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Sure, and it is fun.
No,
but,
you're right.
That's the thing I like about it. It's very atmospheric in that regard, and it also does force you to work in teams. When you enter a room, you gotta do your clearing properly and everything else. You got to work together.
But see, I do Leroy Gibbons or whatever it is.
Leroy Jenkins.
I do Leroy Jenkins. Oh, I run in. Yeah, I do that all the time.
That's what I do in Call of Duty.
I'm kidding. Speaking of Fallujah. Speaking of Fallujah, are we? Nordic, go ahead. For Nordic, go ahead.
Yeah, Mo was in back when the Corps formed, 1775. He's been in there a while.
I was at Ton Tavern.
Yep, he was there when they signed the declaration. No, I don't know. When were you in, Mo?
In the 80s.
I was going to say 80s. Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to say 90s. Shit, fuck, you're old.
Old Corps, man. Old Corps.
The
Soviets were the threat.
2001. So I was in 2001 till technically 2009 early, but I was medically out in 2008 because I got put on light duty after I got blown up. So they just let me roll my contract on out. So pretty much my time in the Marines ended when I came back in 2005, and they just left me on an inactive contract, which burned me later, but I didn't know it at the time.
It's always the way it works.
Gotta love admin.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, since we're talking about Fallujah, are you guys excited about Phantom Fury?
Oh yeah, second edition.
Second edition. Yeah. I'm going to get that. I sold my original one.
Oh, did you?
I still got it. The original Phantom Fury.
Yeah.
I didn't know mine. Who's putting it out. Is it the same company?
No. Same guys. Nuts. Yeah. Nuts. Yeah. I think it looks like they've made some changes. I think it might be, if they've made enough changes, it'll be fun to, play it 3-4 more times and move it on. Right.
When's the game releasing?
It's nuts.
It's nuts.
2030. Who knows?
Yeah. It could be next month. It could be 2027. Yeah. So, I'm not letting go of my copy until I get the second edition.
Yeah.
And even then I may keep both. Who knows? I thought the first one was a really good game, but it's not a kind of game that you're going to play every week. You're going to pull it out. You're going to play once, twice, maybe 3 times. And that one time, then you're going to put it up and probably not go back to it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. Yeah. But you're going to play it a couple times in a row to see, okay, first game is always going to be okay, I got to get myself back into it. Then the second game, you're like, all right, I'm going to restart now. I'm going to play for real. And then third time, let me see if I can do better. And then you put it away.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on the chit drawer for the insurgents, right? How bad they are, right? If they're really bad, then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't do that and start again. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I had the hardest time playing that game because I remember I tried to film it, and every time I tried to film it, I started rambling, and I would end up with about 5 minutes of actual gameplay footage and 20 minutes of me telling dumbass stories about being in the Marines. I would just horribly distracted while I was trying to play the damn thing. I'm like,
that's funny.
This thing moved up. Hey, funny story. This one time, blah, 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 and lost in thought. I ended up doing something like 3 or 4 videos on that game, and I don't even think I finished the first turn. I don't know.
It's one time in Iraq camp.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how the videos went. I need to go back and give that game some more time.
That's fun.
It's a good one. It is a good one. And again, that was one of the things that, going back to 6 Days in Fallujah, it ties into, Phantom Fury, it ties into Lock and Load Tactical, all these other ones.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that we don't like about, I don't want to say hate, but I'm not a big fan of it at all, is I don't like time limits on games. There's time limits, and it could be just because it's the beta. They're trying to force you to get up there and get this done in a certain amount of time. In some missions or scenarios, I can see that a time crunch being needed because this has to happen before that happens or whatever. But it's just like in tactical games. Why do they put an artificial timer on you, which is what it is, to say you need to get from this side of the map to that side of the map in 6 turns? It's like, and then you math it out. You go, okay, I can move this many spaces.
Right.
I can make it there in about 7 turns. So you're giving me 1 turn to play with. I have to push hard across that thing. So I have to do very untactical things to get across.
Yeah. Yeah, it forces well, I think it forces bad tactics, number one, but it forces game interaction between the two players, which I mean makes it more interesting and all the rest of it. And it used to be, I would do the same thing with all the Lock and Load Tactical and Band of Brothers and freaking Panzer is the worst one, MBT. You look at that and you go, you've got 13 turns and it's 3 maps long. That means I've got 2 or 3 turns, so I've got to run, right? Well, now someone's getting to do, the weaker side, the defending weaker side gets all this advantage because you're taking risks you probably wouldn't take necessarily, because you would want to set yourself up in an Overwatch position and then push your guys up and, flush out the bad guys and then, close assault the strong points and then move through. Nope, just run.
Yeah. Sometimes, to address this point, sometimes it can be effective. Y'all
sure, like
I've got more videos coming up on it, but Assault Sicily, it's the sequel to Assault Red Horizon, and I got lucky enough to spend some time with the designer, and we played that online game, and we finished out our online game. So videos 2 and 3 are us finishing that out, and it actually was a nail biter, but it was a nail biter because of the turn limit. And that one, it actually was a good thing because I couldn't just sit back. I had to actually try to push the objective.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But I had 2.5 times the troops that he did on the map. So he had defensive embankments and pillboxes and the like that I had to push up against. And towards the very end of it, it actually did come down to that very last turn. If I could just make it to this and stop him from doing this, that worked well for that game because it forced that interaction that you were talking about and gave us the ability. Otherwise, I could have just sat back turn after turn and just shot at him from a distance with my mortars because he had no indirect fire assets. If I had unlimited turns, I could blink, 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 and get it.
Well, that's why even with Combat Commander, right, where got that you don't know when the game is going to end. That builds a different type of tension. I think that's a really smart mechanic. And I think, the ones I've played the most, like Lock and Load Tactical, they have short scenarios so that it builds a lot of tension, but the scenarios are balanced, really well balanced, so they work, so that it all makes relative sense, even though one side's maybe pushing a little harder than you probably would normally do. It all ends up coming out in the wash and feels about right. Versus some scenarios that are just short and you just do stuff and it doesn't necessarily play well. You've got I remember playing MBT once where the Soviets just ran a convoy of tanks and BMPs and BRDMs right past the 2 Leos that had fired their shot for the turn. So everyone just moved on by them. It just really felt awkward. But I think most games put it together pretty well, generally speaking.
I'm not a fan of when they put time limits on you where like I was saying before, you can get across in 7 turns based on your movement factors, but we're giving you 6, or you can whatever, you have like maybe 1 turn extra that you could lose, and if you get halted, you get into a pitched battle or a really good gunfight, you're going to be stuck there for a while. And that is kind of detrimental in a way. And I think it would be better off if you had, I have a different idea on how I think they could do tactical games, but it would incur a lot of work. Not a lot, but it would be more work than some people are willing to do. You'd have like chess clocks and things like that, where you get X amount of time to make your moves for all your guys. And then when you get into combat, maybe that drops down to 30 seconds or 20 seconds or something like that for you to make your moves for your guys, make your decisions. So you have to make the snap decisions under fire. If you go past your time limit, you lose the ability to move. The other guy goes and you get 10 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever deducted from your time to show like a swing in momentum. So it actually puts real pressure on the gamer. So it becomes stress.
So that PC game, playing Red Storm, something or other, whatever that one is, that's the Soviet invasion of Europe, that has that different time element for both sides based on command and control. I think that's a pretty cool mechanic. I think in a PC game like we're talking about here, giving you enough time to execute tactically what you want to do so that you don't get all shot up. Is
Sure.
They should be able to work out a way that, if you kill X number of dudes, you get X number of seconds extra to, or at time gets added to the clock or something like that, to give you more time versus just saying, hey, you failed the mission because you were 30 seconds late. Sounds kind of goofy. I need to go let a cat out. I'll be back.
Go ahead. Let the cat out of the bag.
Hey, look, two of us have cat. Hey, to interject, since Kev stepped out for a sec, Nordic, I'll answer your question. No, for the most part, I'm good, playing games like that. But I would say that one moment I was describing earlier with the IED did, gut check me. Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, when it comes to modern, I really don't have anything that would bother me from a game standpoint, other than a game I'm not interested in. Because I guess maybe because I have a different mindset about games, I just look at games like a book or a movie or a TV show or something like that. It's just another medium of conveying information. The big difference with a game is, whether it be video or board game, you can actually participate instead of just read or watch a movie or something. You're actually participating in a vicarious way in that event, either through a video game or board game. And you're kind of getting a better appreciation, which is what I like about it, because that participation gives you a better appreciation for what people that were involved in that incident or instance or whatever the event, what they went through, the decision process they had to make. And yes, that means from both sides. So I can play either side in any time, because I'm curious to see, okay, what would I do in that situation? What are these guys having to think in that situation? Let me put myself in their mindset and let me process through that. So that way I can get a better rounded appreciation of it.
Well, you remember they had all that controversy, because that's what pushed this game back originally, was the fact that there was so much controversy and people giving it hell, saying it's insensitive and all this other shit. And it's like,
it's too soon.
Okay.
Meanwhile, it's the guys who are there that are pushing to get it done.
Well, what's too soon? I mean, how come we can have movies, we can have books, we can have all this other medium, but we're not allowed to have a video game? That's crossing the line. We've got games about every other war theater out there, but Fallujah was a step too far. No, if anything, you're paying homage to those who have have been there. And I got to say, they really did a good job of showing respect, not only to the American troops, but especially things like our interpreters, the Iraqis that we worked with, right? And people see that when they see the video. I was able to see some of it that they haven't shown just yet, but you'll be able to see all those interviews that they actually got as part of the game. And this is people who were there at the time talking about it. So they're definitely being respectful about it.
Yes, I was. This is before the Marines were kicked out, or the U.S. military was kicked out of the Philippines. And that's not my fault they were kicked out of the Philippines.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Touch.
Get old Subic on McSci Drive. Yeah, I've been there. That was a minute ago.
What were you doing in the Philippines? Marines are in the Philippines. The Army's in the Philippines.
Marines are in the Philippines too, dumbass, because the Navy's there.
No,
the Navy and the Air Force.
The Navy is our taxi service. They exist for nothing else. That's the only reason.
And they need guards. So every naval ship had to have a contingent of Marines.
But so it was like a small part. You're just there with the Navy. Like, we don't actually have shit.
No, I was just there for a float, just a libo float.
Okay.
So I basically just went there and had fun, got drunk. And it was great because a bottle of San Miguel beer and a game of pool was 25 cents. So it was like 10 cents. I think it was 15 cents a beer and 10 cents to play pool. I was like, my God, this is awesome. You're living like a king. It was greatness.
Dude, it was like that on my first tour overseas. When we first got there, they didn't know what American prices were. So we could buy a carton of cigarettes for $1, right?
Wow.
You could get a big chicken dinner with all the fixings for like 50 cents.
There's an easy way to get a big chicken dinner,
Well, they quickly figured out, though, because we had a bunch of friggin' Army idiots around us. And these guys were like, no, we should pay them more. Like, no, come on, $1 will feed these people for a month. It's great. We get cheap stuff. They get American money, which they want, because at that point, the Saddam money wasn't worth shit because, boy had been ousted. And it wasn't a month, 2 months after we got in country, all of a sudden a carton of cigarettes cost $20 from the Hajis as well. We were so pissed off because the army guys let them know we would pay for it.
Well, this is spot on. The answer is our culture has become a culture of thin-skinned complainers who want to cause a fuss over any damn thing they can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Target fire for effect.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
No.
I mean, the amount of people I see crying over that was actually one of the reasons I had such a hard time, because I tried to go back to college when I first got back.
Then they told you that you can't use crayons.
Yeah. Dude, it wasn't just the students. It was like the college professors. They had no idea how lucky they had it. And I had gone from a war zone to a little while later, I'm sitting in a college classroom, and the shit that these spoiled, entitled little snots would talk about, and they would complain like they had it bad. I'm like, the worst thing that you have to worry about is getting a bad grade on the test. I've seen kids whose parents put grenades in their backpacks, and you're sitting here crying because mommy won't give you $500. What are you complaining about? You are so lucky that you have no idea how blessed you are to live where you do. And I had a tendency to yell at people, and it kind of threw things off a little bit.
Kind of like you do on your channel.
One damn college professor, this guy, he was talking like all military members, think these grand ideas. Now, he was referencing the Revolutionary War and Civil War and the like, but he was acting like they had these grand ideas. Oh, we're fighting for freedom, and we're doing this, and we're fighting for this cause. It's bigger than ourselves. I'm like, you're an idiot. I'm like, the troops on the ground. Now, the general might think something else and understand the big picture, but the troops on the ground, the ones that are actually doing it and in the shit, are not thinking about anything except their loved ones back home and hoping they have all their pieces attached when they go back. They're worried about the guy next to them. That's what's going on in their mind. They're not thinking about the big picture or this historical significance that's going on. They want a hot meal and not to die today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're fighting for your brothers on your left and right. That's really it. And I don't know, but that's a whole different discussion. And then it becomes a big frustration fest to deal with people who don't understand those things, don't appreciate them, and in many cases don't respect them. So I'm not going to give them the respect of discussing it right now, because it's not the time or place. We're talking about war games.
Oh, dude. Sorry. I'll tell you this and I'll stop about it.
Got to push it one more time, don't you?
No, just one more time. There was this fat, nasty, just the epitome of beta male turd who was in a class with my brother, and they were across the table from each other. And this guy kept giving my brother hell. And my brother, had served with me. And this guy hauls off and calls my brother a baby killer. Like, you're nothing but a horrible baby killer, just killing little Iraqi babies. And evidently the color just drained from my brother's face, and he leapt across the table trying to strangle this guy. And people, they pulled him away. And thankfully, the professor in that class understood that the fat turd had provoked him. And my brother didn't get any trouble for what he did, and the other guy got reprimanded for the crap that he was saying. But
for trolling,
yes,
well, my brother put the fear of God in him. He's pretty jacked all of the time.
This is one comment I'll make on this, and then that's it. It's just that's one of the problems in society today. There's no instant repercussions for stupid actions. There should have been the old school way of just thump them once or twice and it's done. And a little attitude adjustment goes a long way. Instead, he could have gotten in trouble. Thankfully, the teacher didn't get him in trouble, but he could have, which he shouldn't have, But So, which was this? You were doing a playthrough of Rostov?
That was a while back. That was last year, actually.
I was going to say, I thought that was a while back. That's why I was like, I got to remind myself on this.
People have been digging through the archives because there's no new content on my page. So
put up something new, buddy. Put up something new, bud. They're desiring some fresh.
He's building a house.
I got 2 friggin' jobs. My kid just had a car accident. He saw 5 people die yesterday. Talk about whining. That was not fun. So just being a little busy. So
yeah,
it's all good. We'll get there.
The kid has excuses. Kev, not so much.
Yeah, me really. I have no excuses. I've been playing therapist, so it's okay.
Give him a beer. Get him a woman. He's good to go. Let him work it out of his system.
Sit down and play a game with him. Go do some shooters together.
He's not a gamer. We'll go. We're gonna shoot Saturday. So
nice.
We'll shoot guns Saturday. So
yeah, where are you gonna go?
Here.
Yeah, that's how I figured out. Your front yard, backyard, which one?
Yeah, it'll be the backyard. We've set up a little range. So
nice.
Yeah.
You've pretty much got my ideal setup. Open your door and not see anyone for as far as the eye can see. I would really like to have something like that.
It should be cool. Fingers crossed it'll all work out. So you just watch someone will sell the property next door, and there'll be 100 houses right next to me, right?
Elon Musk gonna be like, "Hey neighbor,
hey buddy, I'm putting up a $40 million house next to you, and an airfield."
Yeah. So you do have a special request for Kev.
Dan.
Who? What?
We got a special request for Kev to do a playthrough of Votes for
Women. Yeah. Well, if it was a war game, I would play it probably, but
it's a war game according to BGG, and even the Charlies.
Oh, even the Charlies. There you go. That and $1 will get you a donut. Yeah.
What is Votes for Women? Is that the one about the women's suffrage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the game? I don't get the game.
Oh well, I guess you
I
try
don't know enough about it.
You stop women from having rights, I guess.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, is the side one side is trying to stop women from voting? Is that what
who really cares? But who really cares?
Sure.
Who really cares? No one cares. It's just if someone wants to play that game, God bless them. Off they go. I play war games. I could give zero shits about it. So I have no interest in even knowing anything more about it than it shouldn't be where it is in the Charlies.
There's actually a lot of interesting history behind women's suffrage where
absolutely, yeah.
A lot of women protested against it. They didn't want the right to vote because they didn't want to have to register for the draft. And so many people didn't know that voting at that time required that you signed up for the draft, and they didn't want women to be part of that. So that ended up getting taken out. But I'm sitting here like, look, if I got to sign up for the draft, my son's got to sign up for the draft. Your son's got to sign up for the draft.
Everybody should have skin in the game.
Yeah. If that's the way we're going with it, you want equality? Let's have equality. Everyone's
but in fairness, with the leadership that we've had in this country,
well, I don't necessarily.
I don't know. They don't have skin in the game. So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The games like that are great because of the fact that you can explore the history behind it, which is where where I make the clear distinction between a war game and a historical game.
Sure.
And, historical board game, historical strategy, or whatever you want to call it. And they're fine. There's nothing. So I guess some people may think that I hate those games. I don't. I think they're great, but they're not war games. And that's the only thing I'm definitely making a differentiation about, because Votes for Women is about that historical piece. It is not a war game in any way, shape, or form. And, anybody who's saying that it is really not being honest, because, you can say, well, it's conflict simulation. Okay. What isn't a conflict simulation in a game? Because you're competing against each other. Right. If you want to, it's too broad of a term to use. So, if it's not dealing directly with kinetic warfare, it's not a war game to me.
Well, they changed the definitions. A stacking limit is saying, "Oh no, look at the Charlies are about conflict simulations." They weren't. They
weren't until now.
The new board trying to make the tent bigger. The whole, I won't call it collusive, but the whole agenda. If you go look at all the folks that are on the board, pretty much, they all have the same mindset about making the tent bigger for historical gaming, and the beginning of that is changing it from war games to conflict simulations. And the next step will be historical games, which is cool because that means we can have train games for best war game of the year, and I will be the first to nominate one because I think that would be fun.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they did go, if you look at the Charlies, they were historically all war games with a few exceptions.
Yep.
Like Twilight Struggle was one of the ones that won.
I would constitute Twilight Struggle as war game-esque. There's conflict in that. like
is there a CRT? Is there a CRT? All you do is roll the die.
It's a political conflict.
It's a political strategy game that's set around.
That has actual like battles and troops on the board, right?
No, it doesn't.
No.
Am I thinking of it wrong?
No,
I might be thinking of 2 minutes to midnight because that one.
Yeah, you're thinking. You might be thinking of that because Twilight Struggle is any war or battle that happens is a card play. It literally is. This happens, and you lose influence here. You gain influence, or whatever. You know, or the DEF CON.
2 minutes to midnight does have tanks and bombers and nukes and
yeah. That's kind of a war. That's a war game to me. It's a grand strategy war game.
Yeah. It's more of a that's more groggy, but when it comes to that, and again, there's nothing wrong with historical board games. So, like even Mark Herman said himself that Churchill was not a war game. It's not. It's a political simulation or a political game, a political strategy game. Yeah. So it's it's based in history. It's a historical strategy game, historical board game.
And it's a fine game, but it doesn't belong being nominated in the wargaming category. Someone create the Charlie's for strategy games and Well,
I'm sorry, Kev, you can blame me because I had actually resigned from the board because I was more worried about my health at the time.
Well, stop being a pussy and go re-engage.
The options
I must have missed my invite. I don't know.
Maybe they were afraid you would yell at them.
I don't yell at people. I'm just not going to tolerate bullshit.
Wait a minute. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective won it, Charlie? I'm not familiar with that.
I'm sorry, that doesn't belong.
Which is fine. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule. There's always going to be strategy. You can say, strategy games are going to be included and fantasy games are going to be included. I get it, but we're now moving things well into the
absurdity. Yeah,
and we can keep
Burning Banners be a war game.
Burning Banners is a war game. Yeah. I mean, it's clearly hex and counter. And the combat mechanics are fairly simplified because it's simplified. It's straightforward. Everything is done with hash marks on the counters. You got light dice or heavy dice, D6 or D8, basically.
Yeah,
you're hitting on 5s or better. So in a way, it almost plays like buckets of dice games, which are what I consider low to medium complexity games because they're not difficult to understand. But then it gets more complex when you get into the card play. It's just that it's set in a fantasy setting, but it's clearly a hex and counter war game.
It struck my interest because I like undead.
You would like it. You would like it. Yeah.
It seems like there's an undead faction in there that I would like to.
Yeah, the vampires. Yeah.
Yeah, but you remember what I told you yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to work. They still hate me.
We'll have to wait and see. But I agree. What you're saying, Kev, is it's great to be wanting to get more people involved. But the thing is when you want to get people involved, there's a point where it goes from we want to get people involved, so we're going to make it more accessible to people by offering them how to play games and getting them more interested in playing and making them more welcoming. That's fine. But then when you start saying, well, we're going to get more people involved by changing what the definition of these
all
things
the definitions is. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just it seems like everywhere we turn in this hobby and in life in general, we're being assaulted by all these changes that are deemed to be in our best interests. So I feel like the war game hobby activists are saying we need to change the wargaming hobby because it's going to die and there's a problem. And I don't agree with that. I don't believe there is a problem. I think we've talked about this before. People will find wargaming if they're interested in history, military history, or served in the army or whatever the case may be. But if they're into basket weaving or crochet, they're not going to want to play whether it's a history game or a war game. They're probably not. And so
it's not dying though. At all, because think about it. When I first started,
of course, it's not.
There was 3-4 war game YouTubers at most,
right?
Like Stuka, Marco, and Callendale is about it. And now there's
hey! I was here.
There was this other big board.
I've been here. Well, I've been here for 11 years. But anyway, next.
I didn't realize you'd been there. Well, you did mostly writing, and I didn't look up the writing stuff. Not until later.
Now, he was executing dice on camera and stuff like that back in the day, and burning copies of games.
But look how many companies are putting it out now. There's a new mom and pop company publishing a Hexen something war game. Every time you turn around now, it's not dying. If anything, it's bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah, look, and so I think we're chasing. So that if you go look at the C3I magazine, there's all these articles all the time about, well, what does a gatekeeper look like in wargaming? Well, it looks like this type of person, and what is a wargamer? And they're mean, ugly people, and what do we need to do to change wargaming? And why can't we just call it conflict this and blah 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 blah? Please just shut the fuck up and either publish games that are war games or don't, and I'll go buy something else. It's all good.
I'm going to start identifying as a woman so I can win every award for YouTube review.
You could be the only wargaming woman.
I could, and I would win first place.
But it's not about sort of like the sexual politics and stuff like that. It's about trying to change things to fix something that someone thinks is wrong.
It's creating a problem that doesn't exist.
That doesn't exist.
Solutions
and then and by doing that, bringing all the nonsense that exists in the Eurogaming world right now with all their drama, I don't want that. I don't want to deal with that drama here. It's part of the reason why I haven't been playing lately is I just cannot be bothered dealing with the BS and posting my stuff and having to, monitor my thoughts in my mouth. And so I've just kind of said, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to play. So that's part of it.
Well, you just want to spend all your time with a real war game like U-Boat, right?
Yeah, I would rather just get U-Boat out and work out how to get that engine fixed. I'm going to send the cook down to fix the engine, and then he's going to come back and shoot the shoot the ship, fire the torpedoes. It's going to be awesome. That's why I'm at.
But you have to make sure you have the orders to give him, though.
That's right, and best map as well.
Best map, man. That one still gets me. I can't help but chuckle over that one.
That whole thing still gets me.
Oh, it's hilarious. Hilarious. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, there are people that'll, make all these comments about war gamers. And the thing that has kind of annoyed me is, and wargamers have fallen into it and fallen for it. And I think that's part of our own fault too, is there are some people that are trying to say, well, what is a war game? What is it to you? That's not what it is to everybody else. It's like, you know what, dude, let it be what it is to you. It is what it is to me.
Yeah.
I know what a war game is.
Right.
And,
but you don't get to decide what it is.
But there are other people who are trying to think that they can get to decide for everybody. And it's a bleed over from what you had hit on before with the hobby gamers, which has become a total shit show over there. And that's why it's an incredibly toxic environment that I no longer participate in because it's just not good. And I'm seeing some of it bleed over into war games. And that's annoying to see. And it's frustrating to see because we don't need it. And thankfully, it's stayed very small with just some people. But those people, when they start that, anything that they say is going to lose validity for me because they're just trying to stir the pot. Yep. And it's like, no, just leave people alone. The hobby's not dying. The hobby's going to be graying because we all age. It's been graying for decades. It's still alive. It's still going. And it's better than ever because we have such a wide variety of war games now that we didn't have 20, 30, 40 years ago. We have a greater variety now. So we should be thankful for that.
Right. And I think the other cool thing about what's currently going on is that all the traditional companies, MMP, GMT, Lock and Load Publishing, Decision Games, all those guys are still bringing games out on a regular cadence and doing their either minimum 1,000 production units, or with GMT, it's 2, 3, 4, 5,000. But all these other companies, Legion and Thin Red Line Games and VUCA and all those guys, they're doing 300, 400, 500 copies at a time, 750 copies at a time, and selling out. So it's not like they're not selling stuff.
Sure.
And Compass is just crushing it as well with all the titles they're coming out with. So there's a plethora, as they say, in the Three Amigos of war games.
Sure.
Awesome.
And that's the great thing to see is to see that health with all these publishers, and they're expanding from war games more into historical games like GMT's doing, which is what they said a few years ago was the plan, was to expand more into those games because they felt Hex and Counter war games were flat for them. So good for them. They're expanding out to that because the one thing that I find funny is Hex and Counter war gamers, and we'll just call them war gamers, can play historical games and not even think twice of it. It's like, oh yeah, it's about history. Cool. Let's play. Whereas the historical board gamers want to try to say, well, this is a war game. It's like, no, but it's a historical game. So as a war gamer, I'm interested in it. And that's where you get a little bit of that back and forth, which is just a waste of time, you know. And this is a good point that Mike makes. If you're going to give awards, you either need to have a careful definition or deal with the blowback out of the box nominees and winners, which is true. And that's why, you know, you do need to have, that's why I'm a big fan of having a war game category, having historical board game category.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I'd be all for votes for women being in the historical gaming category. That'd be awesome. And I think it should probably win it. I haven't played it, but it's a thoughtful design. The designer is thoughtful. So why wouldn't we want to nominate it for something, but we shouldn't be nominating it for the category it's in. And that's all I'm saying. And the other thing is the list should be curated. And if it is being curated, then the people who are doing it have their head up their backside. So I'll just say that.
So we got this one here. It is important to make war games more accessible. You do this by having a lower price on some games. Tiny Battles made the first game we got, and having games with basic mechanics, but war game mechanics. That's a great point. You know, you want to make games that are more accessible. Then you have excessively priced games. Yeah. You have like Tiny Battle does.
Getting bad. Like,
what's that?
They're hitting the point now where it's hitting unaffordable.
Well, everything's getting that way, including war games. Yeah,
that's the problem. And these companies, they have to understand this, is the fact that these games that they're selling, they are a luxury. They're not a necessity.
Yeah.
Right. So that's going to be one of the first things cut. When my wife and I started talking about cutting back on some stuff to save expenses, my games were the first thing that were on the chopping block. And I get that, because if it's a choice between, you know, feeding the kids or getting war games, I mean, yes, I want to get the war game, and she forces me to feed the kids. So
smaller portions.
Ramen. Smaller portions of ramen.
Yeah.
Thankfully, actually, my kids love ramen. If I would feed them ramen every day, they would love it. They would go for it. Strangely enough. But what's Burning Banners? Something they're kickstarting it for $95. Am I right?
I can't remember. Let me see. I have to look that.
They're in that ballpark, like $90 or so.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Don't know it.
But honestly, I think it could be a little cheaper, right? And that's just the first game that popped up on my head. I'm saying that
you get 6 different factions and 4 mounted boards, and everybody, this is a great point, because everybody is saying, you know, the hobby gamers that come into war games are saying, we want mounted boards. Okay. You want to pay an extra $20-$30 because that's what you're going to pay.
Right.
We don't need the mounted boards though. That is an extra cost that is not needed. It's
$89. It's at $89.
$89. So it's $90. I was at the right ballpark. But that means that the retail on that after the Kickstarter is going to be about $110, right? You know, in that ballpark.
Right.
That's hitting the point now where it's unaffordable. You really just don't see many games anymore that are coming out that are under the $100 price point. One of the better ones that I've seen recently was American Tank Ace, right? Really good game. I highly liked it. Yes, it had a lot of errata at the start, but they ironed that out after a little bit of time. But that game was what, 60? If I remember right? When it released, and you got a fair amount of gameplay in that box for $60, right? In my mind, I want to get at least an hour of gameplay worth for each dollar that I'm spending on this game, and I don't think you're going to get that at some of these games in the $90.
Yeah.
Well, that's a personal choice too. What do you want? You know, what are you expecting out of it? Are you going to get what you expect out of it?
Well, I kind of look at it from what's in the box, right? So what components are in there that's driving? So I just got this in the mail onto Richmond 2, right? I took the shrink off. I haven't bothered to do a shrink rip
They're
on
going
it.
to send you replacement maps too.
Yeah, apparently so. And so I felt like, given this had extra content in it, and that the second-hand versions were selling for 300, that whatever it was, I think it was $160
But
or
yeah,
something like that.
163, I think it was.
Yeah, I think I felt like it was okay, but then some of the other MMP titles, and I'm picking on them for the moment just because I can recall the prices. They felt expensive to me, for what I was getting in the box, and I just
MMP is costly.
and I think they've always been a little bit more expensive because they're published in the US or printed in the US. But Lock and Load's games are starting to get up there in price, and GMTs, they kind of float all over the place.
Inflation. All the costs
sure.
are across the board for them too. So we got to keep that in mind as well. Yeah.
I still keep hearing people say, "Oh, well, shipping's really expensive." Well, it's not anymore. That was a year ago, right? So,
well, when you add in the mounted boards, that does increase the weight, which does increase the
absolutely.
shipping.
So, yeah.
Look here. I grabbed this one to show it as an example. This one came in. This is a Kickstarter I backed, the Escape from Stalingrad Z. And these people did an excellent job of putting out a whole bunch of different levels of the game, but you're getting the same game and all the different levels, but there's multiple different price points giving you options. At the base price point, you could just, the lowest level, just get PDFs and print it out if you wanted. Right. Then there was a level where it was like flat tokens and the book for the game. So you had everything that you needed to play the game. You just needed some dice. And then the next level up adds in standees and some extra tokens. Next level up, you start adding minis. But this one cost me, I want to say $50 is what I ended up backing this for. And it's got a severe amount of gameplay. There's something like 50 pages in this thing. I'm not going to pull it all out. But each one of those pages is a different map. And because they didn't print it on a board, they are able to set up all these huge amounts of maps and different areas and locations and stuff that you can go to. So they're able to put so much more game in this box. So the amount of value that I'm getting from this is through the roof versus other games that are technically using better components. But I would rather get more value, more game than better components, because it doesn't matter if it's got better components, but I'm going to be using those components for less time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm getting more out of this and I'm spending less. And since it's costing me less, I would rather get this for that more game versus something else that might have all the pretty stuff to it, but I'm not going to play it very much.
Well, that's where some of those book games come in really handy, like Mike Lambo's games. Joe Fernandez got some games, the Men of War games.
Yeah,
where you're paying $20 for a book, which has all scenarios, and then you can download on BG. You can download the maps, the counters. You can make your own. You can do a little arts and crafts. You make your own counters and maps, or you can just do it right in the book if you want to, like that. Similar to what you're talking about with that one, and you get a lot of game for $20. There's some effort on your part if you want to use hex encounters. If you don't, you can just play it right out of the book. And you use coins, you can use cubes, you can use little miniatures, whatever. You can use counters that you want and play it right out of the book, or take some acetate, throw it on top, and just write on it, and then just wipe it off when you're done and continue on. So you do get a lot out of those, and that's a nice cheap alternative too. Plus, it travels well.
And I think those types of games are serving a niche that folks who don't want to spend all the money and really don't mind missing out on richer production value, then you're okay, right? Now, I would prefer, for instance, there's a conversation going on in the chat about Ziploc games. I would rather pay, a box typically costs $5, right? Product to make it. I would pay the extra $7 or $8 or $9, so cost plus margin to have a box, because once it goes in a Ziploc, it's really hard to keep track of. I've got folders and folders of games with Ziploc games in them with a little index on the back, and I never go to them to look at them to replay because my eye's drawn to the box spine and the art and the name of the game. And so there's a point where I'll pay more for something. I'm not a big fan of mounted maps, and I don't need minis and all that nonsense. So, but I certainly do like a quality finished product at a reasonable price, depending on what's in the box.
I think war games are going to have to start looking into some cost cutting measures because most war gamers aren't used to spending 120, 130, 140, 150 for just a normal box.
I wouldn't
game.
say that.
Like a bigger deluxe edition, like a big game, like what's that one? World in Flames. World in Flames, right? Huge amount of tens of thousands of counters or whatever the hell it comes in that thing. I've always wanted that one. Part of the reason I never pulled the trigger is because of how expensive it is. But I understand why that one costs so much because there's so much stuff in the box. But if all of these games start going in that direction and they're all looking to mount this and mounted that, no, like save the cost where you can. Yes, inflation is hitting all of us. So since inflation is hitting all of us, we're going to have less disposable income. And since we have less disposable income, make yourself the more attractable option by having some cost savings. Keep the box, because I agree with Kevin. I want a friggin' box.
Sure, me too.
But I don't care if it's a paper map with cardstock play raids. That's perfectly fine with me.
Right.
Versus
that's a war game.
Yeah.
Standard war game is that way. Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be cheaper to ship. That's going to save you many pounds getting the product actually shipped in if all the stuff isn't mounted, because I understand paper is going to add up. But save where you can, and you can end up passing those savings on to the customers. Because you're going to catch people's attention if your game is 70 versus someone else's 120. Yeah, their components might be nicer, but you might end up selling 3, 4, 5 games to their one because yours is at the better price point.
Well, it's also what their business model is, what their costs are going to be. If it's a smaller print run, they're going to pay more for components, and then you have all those factors to take.
Look at Thin Red Line Games and what's his name, the Napoleonics guy. That they do 400 units and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So they're always going to be expensive.
Is that it?
Who? What?
Trafalgar Editions?
No. Oh well, yeah, they do small runs. No, I was thinking more of it's Labatai. It's one of the manufacturers there. Marshall Enterprises or something like that. I think it is. I forget.
It's getting ready to be Origins, huh? Y'all have fun with Origins. Definitely not going to that.
So Mike's saying companies do not price according to gameplay. They strictly price by component list, whatever they feel they need to make a profit wise, stay afloat. It's all calculated out, which is true. I mean, you have to look at how many counter sheets you got, how many maps, because even though it's paper maps, 2 paper maps versus 4 or 6 or 8, whatever, however many maps you have, if you've got 2 counter sheets, one 22 by 34 inch map, 2 play raids, a couple of dice, it's going to be fairly low priced. But once you go up to 4, 5, 6 or more counter sheets, then that increases your cost. And then you have to remember that whatever their cost is, they got a multiplier that they're going to use to, get their MSRP 3, 5, or 7, whichever they're using, and they're going to figure out their MSRP, and then they're going to go out there. The other thing too is why war games are not as lower priced like some hobby games are, is they're not in distribution. They don't have that wide reach that other games that are sitting at Walmart, Target, wherever, and your local game store. You have war games that are primarily being sold by the war game publishers themselves directly. So it's a lot different. They're having to warehouse them. They're having to ship them, things like that. Now, some will offload that to other things like Quartermaster or whatever to handle their logistics, the storage and the shipping and all. But all those count towards the costs, which everybody needs to keep in mind, because you have to hire warehouse people or have people that are handling it for you, doing the shipping, paying for the shipping, the whole 9 yards, all that stuff. Even if they're just cutting you a deal on shipping. Now, some people are given free shipping, like Miniature Market, things like that. You spent X amount of dollars, you get free shipping. So it's subsidizing that. So you're saving there. When you go to Compass, GMT, whoever, you're paying them for the shipping. So you're paying for what they're paying. And all of that adds up, and they have to have people that handle that stuff in-house.
Well, not all companies are doing that.
What do you mean?
Mythic Games, they're catching a lot of hell. I had done
Mythic.
I did some talking about them, but they are basically charging people twice for the same starter. And they are definitely charging profit-making prices on their shipping, when the cheapest shipping they're saying they can get is something like $40 or $50. Actually, I think it's more than that, but for not that big of a box. So I know for a fact they're charging more, and they're just padding it where they can. And what it looks like is they misspent the funds that they got from the Kickstarter and couldn't produce the game.
Yeah.
So they essentially had to figure out a way to get those costs back, and they basically told people pay twice for the same game, otherwise you won't get it.
Yeah, that's pretty much criminal. that's
okay. How does this work? Because this is the position that they've put out and said they're standing by. That okay, everyone paid for the original Kickstarter. Then they put out their extortion request, and only some people paid for it. A good chunk didn't. I didn't. I refused to pay it out of principle. But they're saying that they're going to keep the money basically from that first Kickstarter. They might refund people, but they're not making any promises. But you don't get the game if you didn't pay the extortion fee. So my original pledge was something like $70 or $80, and their extortion fee was something like $90 that they wanted from me. They're saying since
90 extra on top of the 70 or 80 you paid?
Yes.
I tell them to pound sand, and I would actively work to destroy the company.
Yeah, I did. I already put out 2 or 3 videos on it.
But the only way that's going to happen is if the customers, the gamers, wake up, smell the coffee, realize the customer has all of the power. They pull that once, you just say no one buys their stuff ever again. Let them go into oblivion.
Well, what you can also do, Nate, is you can, if you used a credit card, just decline the charge on your credit card and say it was fraudulent, and you'll get it reversed. And you don't have to give extensive explanations. You just got to say it was a fraudulent charge, and they're now asking me to pay double again. So it's fraudulent, and you'll get it reversed.
I use PayPal, and I'm hoping I did use PayPal, because if I did, it should be easier to.
Well, then you should file a claim.
You need to file a claim right away.
It turns out the statute of limitations, as far as PayPal is concerned, only begins once you've received the product. So until you actually receive product that you paid for, the statute of limitations to dispute it doesn't come into play. But they did effectively say they're going to keep all the money, and if you don't pay the double fee, then you don't get anything. That first fee you pay just goes in the dirt. It's gone.
Yeah.
And that's
at that point, for a company that does that once and stays in existence, the gamers are at fault for continuing to support that company.
Yep.
I don't care what the game is. I don't care how much you want that game. That's bad business practice.
I agree. What's funny is they have not launched another Kickstarter since this whole debacle came out, and I don't blame them because no one would back it. But they still have 5 or 6 games out after this one yet to be delivered. And unfortunately, I've backed 2 of those. So I still
cancel them all.
Cancel them all.
Cancel them all.
Yep.
Now I'm sitting in the point of, if I try to cancel, they're not going to refund me.
They will if you I guess
reverse charges on
it. I keep forgetting he's a Marine. So let me use smaller words, and I'll talk slowly. File a claim with PayPal for all of the transactions, and you will probably get a credit. Eat a purple crayon.
Cherry.
See, this is now Brian put it even more simple. You don't receive, you can dispute. You didn't receive it, dispute it, and just say no. And then at this point, even if they say, we'll just send it to you, no extra charge, I would say, no, I want my money back. At that point, it would be principle. Stand on the principle of it. Say, I don't care what the game is, because now I have such a negative opinion of the game that I don't want it. I just want my money back, and I can never trust you as a company again, and I hope your company goes belly up.
And you know what? It is sad because the game did look good. It was Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't back that one, because I was kind of tempted, but then I was just like, and I never did. And that's pretty much why I don't back a lot of Kickstarters anymore. There's been enough horror stories, and I backed like 240 projects over the years. So it's not like I've not backed more than a fair share. Plus a lot of them are just, ended up just selling most of them off anyway. But it just seems like there's a lot more mismanagement now with these companies. And I think we have game companies that are run by gamers, not business people, and they're mishandling things.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. but it is what it is.
If it wasn't for Kickstarter, we wouldn't have gotten some of the games that we have that have been really good, because people are trying new ideas that bigger publishers didn't believe in, didn't know would actually sell, so they weren't willing to give it a chance. And that game, Seventh Continent, was fairly praised. I liked it. Some people didn't, but for the most part, it was well received. That game had hundreds of cards in it. That was the basis of the game. And it wouldn't have been published had it not been for Kickstarter. So I think Kickstarter is a good thing. And
it's a good thing for what the intent is for the people who, like, say you and me or Kev decide we're going to make a game and we need the capital. So we go to Kickstarter to raise that capital to fund it and put it out. Mythic is an established game company like Simon. This is not what Kickstarter should be. It shouldn't be like these guys are making millions of dollars each time they run these Kickstarters. They have the capital. They need to be able to raise it on their own. Their business is now off the ground. They should be doing it. They should be accepting the business risk rather than passing it off into the customer.
Yeah.
And what they did here was passed it off to the customer, and then they mishandled money or whatever. And now they have the audacity to come back and say, well, you know what, to get your game, you're going to need to pay us more than what you paid for your pledge. Yeah. I'd be like, go pound sand, dude. Give me my money back. Well, we might give it back. Okay. Then I'm going to go reverse charges.
They actually doubled their staff, and we know it was labor costs, because they openly admitted that they had a staff of 6 and they had jumped to a staff of 12, and then all of a sudden they're out of money. And it's like, yes, you guys doubled your staff, and I'm absolutely sure you were paying yourselves exorbitant salary.
Way too much money, yeah.
And that's where all of it went, and we've worked with these companies. We know what it is. They should price this stuff out before they do the Kickstarter. Okay, X amount. How much would it cost us to have this many games made at this price point? Or how many for 1,000 games, 5,000, 10,000, whatever it's going to cost us, and understand those numbers. That way, when the Kickstarter's done and they have so many orders, they know what's going to cost to get that game produced and have it shipped stateside. Okay, everything outside of that cost is what we have available to be spent, and don't spend into that. It's not exactly like it's rocket science to figure that shit out. But evidently for them it was, and they just spent it all like a wife on a shopping spree.
That's true. Now, this one right here, Stacking the Messini backs war games on Kickstarter from companies like Compass. That's because they use Kickstarter as an additional way of reaching out to people who didn't know about the game. So it's really more of a late pre-order kind of thing, because they have the game. You're going to see it in 4 to 6 weeks, so you're good. Not like 4 to 6 months, 1 to 2 years, 3 or 4 years, or never.
Right.
Yeah, they've always delivered. They've never had one that they didn't deliver.
Yeah, so asking what is the company, and Cav answered Mythic.
Yep. Mythic Games. You probably won't have a chance to buy any of their stuff because I doubt they'll run another Kickstarter. But yes, absolutely do not back anything by them because you cannot trust them. Yeah,
and this is true. It is their first real Kickstarter because they're doing it to actually raise the capital to be able to print the game. And that's the thing about Kickstarter is a funny beast. Going back years ago, it was a fun time. It was the best of times, really, back then, when people were, I have an idea. Here's my idea.
Right.
Back me for $20 and you can get my game. And then it just kind of exploded, and you had like crazy things happen, like Simon with Zombicide. That thing just grew into a massive monster. And
then everybody Kickstarter went, this is very profitable. We should have more companies like this on here, right? Because Amazon takes a big chunk, and Kickstarter, there's a whole bunch of fees that go into that. So when someone raises $1 million, they don't get $1 million; they get substantially less than that. But anyway, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, Kickstarter takes
I'm waiting on one that's like year 5. It's a software game. It's actually a war game AI, and
really,
the guy's still working on it. I forget what it's called. I keep getting these updates every 6 months. Oh, I'm almost done. He raised like $12,000, right? So it was nothing. And poor guy. I mean, he's just working on it anyway.
But he's still updating you on it.
Yeah, he keeps releasing stuff, and he said, look, if you take all these bits and do all the work, and you can mishmash this together, and it'll work. And I said, look, you sold me an .exe solution. That's what I'm for. I'm happy to wait because I'm not in a hurry. So
yeah. But at least he's not abandoned it. He's not thrown it to the wayside. Right. He's sticking with it. So that's the kind of the small guy, so to speak, that you're rooting for. You want to see them go. They're sticking with the spirit of Kickstarter.
To be fair, though, I mean, you should be in a little bit of a hurry. I mean, you're kind of at the point where you shouldn't buy the big box at Costco, you know?
Should be, but at the same time, software development is
Smarty Pants is making an ageist joke here. I'm offended. You've hurt my feeling. I'm offended. Please stop with the ageist jokes, okay? Because other people who are listening might have hurt feelings. They may have white hair too, you bitch.
After dealing with a bunch of wargamers, man, trust me, I'm used to dealing with old folks. Feels like I walk into a nursing home every time I go to a convention.
You know what? Next time I see you, I'm going to trip you and I'm going to say, "Catch me, bitch," and see what happens.
Yeah. Take his cane and smack him over the back of the head with it.
I'm going to walk backwards, drinking a friggin' whiskey, going, "Come on, man, come on,
little boy, hobble up."
Look, I might not be able to catch you, but I got some little friends that can run a lot faster than I can. They can catch you.
Well,
your kids are not. That's not the right way to employ your children.
Yeah.
Trust me, my kids are not hollow points.
Yeah, well, hey, talk about escalation, dude.
I know. Listen to him.
Violence is not the answer, man.
Violence is always the answer.
All right, that really just fell off a cliff, didn't it?
Yeah.
That whole thing, that whole conversation.
We let Nate talk too much.
God dang.
So what do you got coming up on your channel next, Nate? Aside from, we got more video of 6 Days in Fallujah.
Yeah, do have plenty of that coming up. I have hours of 6 Days of Fallujah already recorded, and we will be trying to do a live stream together. Now, Kev's potentially going to be joining us if his computer can run it. On top of that, I have a bunch of stuff. I am actually really backed up right now. Exit Vector is a game you guys probably haven't heard of yet. They are coming to Kickstarter on it's 22nd or 27th. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll have a preview video up for them. It's a game about futuristic aircraft. It's a hex and miniature game, but aerial dogfighting type combat going on. Looks really cool. Smaller company, but they're doing some interesting stuff. On top of that, Heroes of the Bitter Harvest is set to go up. I have Trafalgar that I have started, and finished videos of that is coming up. Escape from Stalingrad Z, which I was just showing you guys. I've got the preview of that is going up soon, and playthrough is coming up. And especially excited about this, I've got the continuation on finished videos for Assault Sicily 43 is going up from where I played with Wolfgang, and then I've got the prototype kit in of that. So I'm going to be doing some solitaire play of that so people can see the new units, new rules. And it's actually really good because he's added in trenches and barbed wire and pillboxes and bunkers and some new artillery rules and some new rules for things like withdrawals and retreats. So like in the hex encounter type gameplay, it's not just fight until the enemy's dead or you capture all the victory objectives. If you lose too many troops, your morale can break and your units will retreat. So that's actually a nice little addition that he's added to it. And I think, did I cover all? I know I've got another one that I've got coming up, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. So I'll have to update it later. But yes, I've got a bunch of stuff.
Can I ask you a question, Gibby?
Yeah.
So you posted some videos, and if you can do the kind of Cliff Notes version of what you thought of it. The Pacific naval game with the
counters?
The aircraft carriers that looked like they took up 2 hexes, and then the little aircraft stands. Yeah, it looked like super abstract, but it seemed like you were having fun with that. I didn't watch all the videos because you're really kind of boring. But so can you tell me? I was watching it on Instagram actually. Was it any good? Like, was it
Fighters of the Pacific, is that the one you're talking about?
Whatever it's called. Yeah, it's the blue map with all the ships and airplanes.
Yeah, it's good. It's beer and pretzels.
Okay, that's it's kind of what I thought it was. Yeah. But
okay. If you want something basic and easy to play, it's good to go. It's not overly complex by any means. Okay. The rule book is 4 pages.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, it is very small. They actually, if you want to wait, they just did Fighters of Europe. So if you want Europe, like P-51s and Messerschmitts instead of the Japanese and the Americans, that version is going to be releasing later on. So just depending on which version you would like better.
Gotcha. Cool.
Nice. What about you, Kev?
Really?
Anything at all?
I would love to say that I have some. I've got a whole bunch of drafts I probably should focus on, but I'm playing Line of Battle right now. I'm on the first turn of a 4-turn mini scenario. The cat messed up the counters 2 days ago. I just put them back in the right spot. Maybe I'll get a video out on that. I really don't know. I really have just been too preoccupied to get much done. So stand by, stay tuned.
I feel your pain. It finally happened to me. You said the cat messed up the counters?
Yeah.
We just got 2 kittens.
Oh no. And he's worried about budget.
The kids wanted pets. We had lost our puppy, so we ended up getting 2 kittens. And I had Trafalgar set up with the little ships, and I swear to God, I walk in my office, and there's one of the kittens just on the table, knocking all the little ships all over the place, and I just freaked out about that. So
attack kitty.
Yes, definite attack.
Another reason why I'm not a cat person.
Yeah.
They love
dogs only.
That's hilarious.
But I've got a video I've got to finish editing. I was able to finally shoot one less than 60 miles second echelon. I'm going to kind of do a look. I'm not doing an unboxing. I'm doing like a comparison, kind of a talk.
Between the two? Oh, yeah.
Differences between the two. And so that way, people who have the first echelon, the first edition, the second edition does not invalidate yours. You can actually download the update kit, which includes the counters and all the stuff that you can make yourself that were added to this new one. So that's one of the great things about Thin Red Line. If you get the first edition, whatever they change, they give you the update pack that you can print yourself.
Right.
Now, some people won't like that, but it's like, well, I mean, what do you want? Do you want to spend $100 on the game again, which is fine, or to have the latest and greatest, or are you willing to just go ahead and print out the stuff? So that's, I just kind of talk about the differences there. And then have another Learn to Play coming up that I'm working on now. That should be hopefully I'm hoping by the end of the month to have that done and up and ready. So that should be perfectly in time for the game to be getting out to people too.
Now, go ahead.
I said learn to play tic-tac-toe.
No, this is not Nate level games. This is war games.
So I don't know if everybody knows, but Blue Panther, I think it's llc.com, have a sale on at the moment for the Red Sash collection. And it's called something funky. It's called something like the Mix and Match.
Ding and Dent.
Ding and Dent, kind of they're slapping stuff together, but they're cutting the prices pretty significantly. And I can't comment on how good they are or not, but I did purchase, I'm just looking at the screen now, so bear with me because I got to pronounce it correctly. The Battles of Sisu.
Oh, the Sisu, yeah.
Sisu, yeah. So that looked Finnish.
You had pointed that out, and I was like, I'm really tempted. But then someone else, was it you or someone else, that said their rules can be kind of a train wreck?
They can be for the Lace Wars.
Okay. So not for this one.
I can't comment. I'll let you know soon. I bought it. So,
you did? Okay.
Yeah,
I may get that too, because that was an interesting and unique enough title that you don't see a lot of, anything covered with Finland.
And it's two too. It's 42 and 44. So it's fighting the Soviets and then fighting the Germans.
And there's topographical maps too, which I was like, wow, could be good and bad. Depends on how the maps are done. Because if it's hard to read topographical lines, it's difficult to understand the terrain you're on. So
yeah.
Have
So
you
I
guys
think
seen the movie
no, not yet.
Caesar?
Yeah, the finished John Wick. No, I have not
Yeah.
seen it, but I saw the trailer and I can't wait till it comes out on streaming.
It's pretty good.
It looks so epically bad that I can't wait to see it.
No, it looks great.
Okay, it is not. It's not thought provoking. It's not. It's
not meant to be thought provoking.
No, it's not meant to be. It's a John Wick movie.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you. You want to hear a good movie? I just found this. Unfortunately, it just came off Netflix, but which means it'll probably be on another streaming service. If you see a movie called Wolf's Call, watch it. It's a French movie, French modern day submarine movie. Very good movie. I just stumbled on it on Saturday night. Yeah, you can go the dubs, but I always just read the subtitles because to me, I don't like watching foreign movies with dubbing because it's like there could be a fight going on, a really dramatic scene, and the guy's going, "Over here, Gimpy." Meanwhile, the other guy's going, "Cover me," and the guy's like, "Cover me, guys." the dubbing never matches, and you lose all the emotion and you lose the actors, the presence on screen. It just cuts that out. So,
I can't.
But it was a really good movie
to read during a movie. I want to just turn my mind off and watch. I don't want to have to read the damn subtitles.
Kind of like you don't like to read books. You only want the pictures. I get it.
No, I've got a whole library. I read. I just don't like to read during movie. That's thoughtless time.
Gimpy's Big Picture Book.
It's like, when I'm doing
is there a comic book edition of this?
Dex. I'm 30 years.
That's what happens for picking on old guys.
Yeah. Hey, so can we? Is it possible to play opposing sides? I'll play against you two guys.
No, it's actually all together. Only co-op, which is the interesting.
Teach you guys a thing or two about the old FPS stuff.
There you go. So now I will do this. I will post this in here for those who are not familiar with it. There is the link to the game that will be out to the public on Thursday, 6 days in Fallujah. The early access version will be available on Thursday. And I will tell you, if you like shooters and you want a realistic military shooter, and of course, everyone will have a different mentality or a different attitude about what's realistic. This has a great realistic feel. It's very immersive, and things like that when it comes to when I talk about realism. And it's 4-man co-op, 4-man fire team. You can play a solitaire with AI, but the AI is not strong right now. That's something they'll be working on. But when you play it with some people, it's going to be really cool. And hopefully if things work out, we will play a game here on Friday night. We'll do a Friday night fights with Whiskey Charlie Goes to Fallujah.
Hey, yeah, that's FYI, cool. A portion of all their sales, I think it's 15%, it's 15 or 20%. I forget how much does go to military charities. So
yeah,
nice.
They are good. You can actually look it up on their page. They have the list of charities that they support.
Yes.
Cool. Well,
so we can't do an unboxing of 6 Days in Fallujah.
I think he means Sisu.
Sisu, yeah.
Well, no, Sisu, dude, whatever.
I told my brother, when I was setting it up with him to play, he was like, "Yeah, bring it to my local store and we'll set it up and we'll all play." And I'm like, "Bring what to your local store? Did you send this to me? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, 6 Days in Fallujah." I'm like, "It's a video game, you moron. Put your head out of your ass." He wanted me to drive up to Hickory. Well, you guys don't know where Hickory is. He wanted me to drive 4 hours away to go play a video game with him. I was like, "No, dude."
So he was in the Marines too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I never said he was smart. He's dumb as a brick.
Right? Well, you are twins.
And I was going to say you're related, right?
I got the brains and the looks.
Oh, God.
Wow.
You got the ability to be a Wesley twin.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. It's getting deep.
It really
and on that note, but yeah, so stay tuned for that. We'll have some updates later in the week. Probably by Thursday, we'll have everything figured out as far as what we're going to do. But that's what the goal is, to shoot for hopefully Friday night. And then Hex to Hex is also going to be doing a live stream. Are you still going to plan on doing that tonight, Jeff, or are you going to do that on Thursday night? Let us know in the chat so that way we can point everybody your direction, because you're doing a live stream of a live play, I believe.
Hexy.
What's he doing?
Sexy Hexy.
Sexy Hexy's bringing it.
Yeah, but what's he doing a live play of?
You're doing a live play for 20 minutes?
In 20 minutes.
In
Of
20
what?
minutes.
Of what?
What is he
Hold
playing?
on. He's hunting and pecking the keys.
Oh God.
Do you not know, Bo?
No, I don't. I just know that he's going to be doing a live stream or something.
I thought you were ignoring me. I was like, Mo, what is he playing?
No, I wasn't ignoring. I'm just waiting. I'm looking on the screen to see what he's going to say. So he's going to do something in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Come on, spit it out, Hex.
It looks like guys are already there. Oh,
Intro
Miracle
to
at Dunkirk.
Herman's game, Miracle at Dunkirk.
Oh,
okay, there we go.
Is that out? Is that out or is that pre-release?
I think it's beta testing right now, or finish final blind testing. I think.
Cool. Because I was going to say I'm keen to get that to the table.
Yeah. No, if it's Herm's game, it's going to be good. So now, is that going to be in 20 minutes, Hexy?
Yeah.
Let's just make sure that we let everybody know. So,
which Herman is that?
Letman.
There's too many damn Hutman or
Hutman.
Getting old, my mind's starting to go.
Well,
let me just here we go. I wanted to make sure that I got his channel.
In Vassal Kev. More on
his channel text to Hex.
Oh, I see.
For those who don't know. So go over there, check it out.
Figure it out. It's right there.
I know, but there are a lot of people out there that think like you do and don't catch it. So anyway, I wanted to make sure everybody goes checks that out and give some support to Hexy and go check out what his stream is going to be here in 20 minutes. Go in there and bust his chops and have a good time. His videos are always great. And like I said, we'll be letting you guys know later in the week what we're planning on doing with 6 Days in Fallujah, but we will have the crew on hand there to play a little bit of that and let you guys get a look and see what it is. It's a really interesting game, and if you're interested in shooters, give it a look. Comes out on Thursday, early access. Thanks for tuning in, guys, tonight. We really appreciate it. We will see you on the next show. Have a great night, everybody.